We are going to have a look at the issue of Samido. We are going to look at it holistically. We are going to look at it from Samido the musician. We are going to look at Samido the police officer. And we're also going to look at the state of the government in Kenya today. It is a detailed discussion. If people say, I usually meet people on the road saying that they learn a lot from me. So, at the expense of your bundles, kindly bear with me. I had a boss, I always say that, in Mandera who was called Morris Jabuya Ombwa. He used to say that when you write a report, an intelligence report in Mandera, it goes through Northeastern in Garissa and goes to the national office at Nyati House. It should be so clear that the person who is reading it in Nairobi, Nyati House headquarters, and has never stepped in Mandera, can, using just your report, go to that place and start moving around as though he or she is a resident of that place. So my message of passing usually are in a form of IR, intelligence report. But people acknowledge that I'm a good teacher and a good history teacher. Can I add also a good law teacher? Because I'm going to tell you the legal implication of this. When Samido says that he wants to retire, somebody wonders how can somebody who was born in 1990 want to retire? Somebody who has served 12 years in the police service, that is from 2013 to 2025. Those are 12 years. I want to cover everything holistically. And if I remember anything additional, I will put it into the comments section. I want today to thank one of my fans who goes by the name Isaac Morithi Masharia. Very many of you may meet. I'm sorry if I don't mention your names because even if I'm Maluya, mambo ya salamu watu wengi, it may bring a problem. So Isaac Morithi Masharia is lucky to have been mentioned here. That generation is good to learn. It is good to learn things the way they're happening, and also good to learn about what the standing orders, the police standing orders talks about somebody as young as Samido wanting to retire. He wants to retire, but the police are trying to circumvent it by charging him in court with desertion. What the police are trying to do, and you see it is the same department. I will talk about retirement later, but before they process his retirement papers, they want to claim that he's a convict. He has been convicted for the offense of desertion. And desertion means you miss a number of days. I think it is 21 days. You miss 21 days without being on duty, and then you are criminally charged with deserting the force, which is a criminal offense. So that instead of resigning, instead of retiring, he is considered a convicted criminal. You know what that means? Resigning, he goes without, if he resigns, he goes without pay. If he retires, there is a calculation I'll tell you. So the best thing is for him to retire, because they'll calculate, I'll tell you. And for others who don't qualify in that rule that he has applied, he can resign. And you see, in his like now he's from abroad. I can tell you, there is a musician called Nyongeso Muganda. He sang about people hating watchmen. Most likely, I'm the one. Sorry, I have a sore throat. Most likely, I'm the one who motivated Nyongeso Muganda to sing the song Watchmen. Because one day I visited him, he was a senior guard at DT Dobby. And there was a weekend he was going to Kitale for to play. So he told me to don't come to my place of work on the following 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because I'll be in Kitale. And then I asked him how much he'll be paid for the 3 days. I compared to what he was getting, and I said, you can live peacefully on the salary of, you can live peacefully on the on as a musician rather than guard being taking care of mosquitoes at the gate near industrial area prison. And he told me that even though music was earning him more, even though music was earning him more, because in that weekend he would get more money than what he would get guarding for quite a number of months. But he said he did watchman work due to his love for, I mean, he did it, that was his profession. That was his profession. But when it came to money, music brought him money. So I would believe that Samido is a police officer because he wants to be a police officer. He is not like any other police officer who, if the salary is delayed, he is affected. I think that one is clear. Now, have you ever experienced a blackout at midnight? Imagine during midnight, you're doing your work, you have your laptop, you're doing your thing, your TV is on, everything is on. Then suddenly there is a blackout. Everything is quiet, everything stops. Suddenly there is silence and darkness. You are doing everything. Now you can only look for a torch, a candle, or even a rechargeable light. Yes, associating himself with one-time chance is bad, even though there are reasons to believe that the crowd may have, and I repeat, may have forced him to chant, uh, because it is possible that he was forced. eh? We could also say, just like Diango is who kidnapped himself, Samido may have led himself, knowing quite well what kind of reception he would get. So we have to differentiate Samido the Mogithi man and Police Constable Sami Muchoki. His life, he was enjoying both, just like I've said, everything is working, and then suddenly the lights go off. He's now concentrating on fighting not to end up in prison, because if he's found guilty of what do you call police desertion, he could spend time in prison. So that is where you find that the police are trying to delay his retirement, meanwhile trying to convict him of that. I think you now know what is happening there, although we will cover that. So we say that when he sings in public, uh, and when he sings in public like Samido, you cannot equate him to the singing in public of Maroon Commandos. Because Maroon Commando, the band, the music and everything belongs to the military. Belongs to the military. And what people don't know is that if you are a member of Maroon and you compose a song, the copyright belongs to the band and not you. unless of course you leave for one weekend, you go to a certain band, but there you play it on your own. I will not be shocked if in Maroon you have to sign that you cannot sing with a secular musical band for as long as you're with the Maroon. I will not be shocked. If today Maroon Commandos chanted one term, it would raise eyebrows because it is a government band. As for Samido, what he does, the equipment, everything, that one belongs to him alone. I left the police service because of what Samido may be going through. Two colleagues found me drunk. They keep on insisting that I am in the wrong political ideology. They insist that the then ruling party is the party to be, or the place to be in. I then react. It is obvious, even by a direct question that I asked during the proceedings, that supposing you guys didn't start talking politics, is there any indication that I would have talked politics? And both of them said, most likely you would not have talked politics. And I even asked, and are you not the people who started talking politics? They said, yes, we are the one who started talking politics. Back to Samido. If there is evidence that he knew what to expect and still headed there, we could ask ourselves questions, isn't it? Plus, as an artist, we have to differentiate between him, Samido, and Samuel Mushoki. Samuel Mushoki and Samido are two different people. Does it mean that if he had a t-shirt printing shop, he can't be hired by one-time people to print such t-shirts? Are we being told that? Before going to the public meeting where fans appear to have, and I repeat, where fans appear to have compelled him to chant one term, Samido and other Kikuyu musicians went to the DP's residence and pledged loyalty to two term. It was not wrong. No, it was not Constable. It was not Constable Mushoki visiting the deputy head of state. It was Samido, the musician, who visited the deputy head of state. Let us give 4 scenarios. Samido, the musician, scenario number 1. Samido, the musician, visits the deputy head of state. Scenario number 2. Mushoki, the constable, visits deputy head of state. Scenario number 3. Samido, the musician, visits Amugithi Bash. And lastly, the 4th, Mushoki, the constable, visits Amugithi night. All those 4 scenarios are different, independent of each other. Now, you cannot take one group, one of the 4 scenarios, and convict him on the conditions of the other scenario. For example, if Muchoki, the police constable, was to visit the deputy head of state's office, he would be in uniform. Or even if he was in civilian, he would be armed and he would be getting instructions from an inspector. Same with visiting Mogithi night as a constable. But visiting the 2 places as Samido, he went there as a band leader and he went there as an equivalent of the other people. Remember, Mushoki, the constable, cannot be anywhere near the president, the deputy head of state, if he was in uniform or he was performing the duties as a constable. We should stop imagining that Constable Mushoki, in full uniform, maybe armed with a gun, he was shouting, one term, one term, one term, or even two term, two term. It is not allowed. How comes that, irrespective of whether it was Constable Mushoki or musician Samido, whoever visited the vice president, the deputy president or deputy head of state to support Kenya Kwanza is right and is right? Don't you think that is if he went there to Professor Kindiki as the deputy head of state, that would have been different. But he went there on issues to do with Kenya Kwanza. Why is it right? It is equally as wrong as going to the Mugithi place chanting one term. If evidence can be found that he went there willingly and knowing what to expect. Irrespective of whether it was Constable Mushoki or musician Samido visiting a one-term Mugithi right is wrong, I'm also reminding myself of a meeting that I had with Raphael Kimayo, my boss. He was the deputy Rift Valley intelligence officer. Sorry, I have a sore throat. When I asked him that, forgetting that Kabong and Moriasi were the initiator of the talks, just forget that. Although it is true that they were the initiators, and even in my personal file, if you check it today, it shows that they initiated and they kept on urging me to give my evidence. And I was obviously drunk at that time. But I talked to Mr. Kimayo and asked him that, forgetting that Kabong and Moriasi were the initiators of the talk, assume even that the roles were changed and that I initiated the talks, and that both Kabong and the late Moriasi reacted to my talks and praised Kanu and castigated Kibaki. I said, even they at that time had committed an offense because they were police officers and they were talking partisan politics. Kimayo looked me in the eye and asked me to compare the flags. Asked me, between the Democratic Party of Kenya flag and KANU flag, which one is it that resembles or resembled the national flag? My argument is very simple. It does not matter if it is Samido or Muchoki. One, it is wrong to associate yourself with one term, as it is also wrong to associate yourself with two terms. There is no question that when he went to Kindiki's place to associate himself with two term, and then it is also wrong for somebody to associate with one term. It is wrong to associate with any partisan political thing. Two, we have to differentiate between a civil servant in his private capacity to the civil servant in his official capacity. I've already said you have in your private company, you print t-shirts. Do you want to tell me that you, as a businessman or as a businesswoman, somebody can come to you wanting to print his what do you call t-shirts? They can even meet there. Somebody can come and order many t-shirts for one term. Another one can come and order many t-shirts for two term. You print. So we have to differentiate, number two, between a civil servant in his private capacity and a civil servant in his official capacity. Three, if Constable Mushoki can associate with himself with one term is wrong, then it is also wrong for him to associate himself with two terms. Why is it that the police service did not castigate him when he and other Kikuyu musicians went to meet Professor Kindiki? Now let us come to his resignation, which is actually a retirement. This is information meant for non-police officers for the general information. Someone would wonder how somebody who was born in the year 1990 joined the police in 2013, and today, after serving 12 years, he wants to retire. Resignation, as far as police is concerned, we have something that is called 24 hours resignation. This applies for police officers of the rank of OCS and below. You take your last pay slip, look at your last pay slip. The pay slip is written this way: your name, but blah blah. Then they say salary, allowances, blah blah blah, and then they say total earnings before deduction. Then they go to deduction. They say you pay as you earn, medical, SHA, whatever, medical. They do all the deduction. Then at the end they say net pay for the month of July 2025 is so much. What you do if you have the rank of OCS and below, you go to your payslip, it is written total earnings before deduction. Attach that payslip with a letter of resignation under the 24 hours rule. Return all the equipment of the police, everything that belongs to the police force. In the next 24 hours, you'll be a former police officer. That is what is called resignation under the 24 hours. Samido would do that if he wants to. But coincidentally, these things are happening when he has completed 12 years. So he has decided to use the 12 years retirement rule. As I said, this information is meant for non-police officers for general information. We are not aware of, and we can assume that Constable Mushoki had no intention of leaving the police service. So it is possible that he saw the way they were doing it to him. And as I said while giving the example of Nyongeso wa Muganda, I said that the salary he gets is just like an allowance to him, because what he gets from Mugithi is much, much more. He can, even right now, decide to resign within 24 hours and nothing would happen. But he is taking the retirement line, because in retirement, the only difference is he will be paid for the services served to the government of Kenya. Some people, like the former Deputy Director of Intelligence of the Special Branch, Stephen Mureithi, said that he worked in the police because of the pride of it and not the money. Not Mushoki, Mureithi said that he came from a rich family. The money that he's getting from the police is nothing to him. It's only that he likes being the police. Mushoki and some others are the same. I would believe that Mushoki or Samido also can fall under this group. A group of people who are in the police service for the pride of it or the love of it, but not for the salary. There are others who were in the police because of the salary or walikosa kazi pali pengine. But when the police came up with the Todonyang and other people and other things like that, people who earn more on their lives, on their free lives leave. Remember a person like Imanyara or Manyala. Does he really see the police salary or something? I can bet that he had no intention of leaving the service, but when these issues came up, he had to use the 12, 16, 20 years rule. He had used the 12, 16, 20-year rule. This rule, the so-called 12, 16, 20, was there even before I joined the police. Actually, on the week that I arrived at my first station, Kapenguria, there was a police driver who was retiring on the very, very same terms. I do not know of other services if they have such facilities, but these are facilities were in the police service even before I joined. Any police officer who has not attained the rank of inspector, you remember the 24-hour covers an OCS and below, but this 12, 16 and 20 does not cover inspectors and above. So I say again, any police officer who has not attained the rank of inspector can, upon acquiring the services of either 12, 16, or 20 years, apply to retire from the police force, police service, and he or she would be paid while calculating upon the number of years serving. Let me give an example. If upon retirement on medical or age group, your retirement is calculated on the number of years served. If you retire while you have served that is why it is also good to start joining the police when you are young, because when you retire, let me give an example of myself. I joined the police service in 1982. I joined the police service in 1982 after my Form 6. But if I would have joined the police after my Form 4, I would and retired, my calculation would be more because I would have served the police 2 more years. So they calculate depending on the number of years worked. And this is how the rule of 12, 16, 20 is calculated. There is a certain formula, and then they multiply it by 12, or they multiply by 16, or even multiply by 20. That is what they do. Now, supposing you don't retire on those years, supposing you don't retire on the year 16, supposing you don't retire on the year 12, suppose you don't retire on the year 16, and suppose you don't retire on the year 20. Supposing you are retiring on the year 13, after 13 years service, after 14 years service, after 15 years service, or you are retiring after 17 years service, after 18 years service, or even after 19 years. Or let's say you retire after 21 years and over. It is not calculated. If you reach 17 years service and you want to retire under 16, you are not applicable. So if you did do it while you had served 12 years, then you have to wait until you have served 16 years. And if you didn't do it while you did it 16, you have to wait it until 20. But if you reach 21, then wait for medical, or you wait until you retire of the number of years that the government has placed there. So in such cases, you can only retire. In such cases, you can retire on any other ground, but not on 12, 16, and 20. For example, you may retire to 13 on medical ground, isn't it? Yeah, such things. Or there reaches a time, although I've never come across such a case, but there can reach a time when the government want to downsize the police service. They want to downsize the police service and just say that anybody who is 45 years and above and wants to retire would retire with the benefit. So those are special circumstances. As I said, if you're 13 years service, you have to wait until 16, and so on and so on. You may retire under any other conditions, such as medical, but this is these things we are talking today relates only on the 12 years, 16 years, and 20 years. So have you seen Samido joined the police in 2013? He wants to retire in 2025, which is 12 years. In circumstances that he has left the service, just like Lagat's case, it is prudent also not to look the other side. If Lagat would have seen what Ojwang did and just wanasema nini, swallowed the bitter pill, so many police stations would not be burnt, including a law court. So many people would not be dead and whatever. Can't the government also learn that even if they sit down and agree with Samido and Samido goes back to normal, don't you think that there is the other effect, the ripple effect, that other people will now feel that they will have noticed that. They will notice that just as I've noticed, maybe I would not even have noticed, that Samido went to a camp of 2 term. Nothing happened. But when he went to the camp of 1 term, something happens. When you get to power, sometimes wisdom escapes you.